I'm going to start off with just introducing myself. I am the sports psychologist for British weightlifting. I've worked with them for 4 years with the Paralympic powerlifting team, and I have also worked with their Olympic weightlifting team up until they lost funding after Rio. And basically, I've been a sports psychologist now for, must be coming up to 7 years, and experience with a lot of international level sport and high-end stuff. I've just recently got the job with British Athletics, so I'm going to be working with them towards Tokyo for the Olympics and Paralympics with their Olympic side and Paralympic side. So basically, yeah. Oh, you're waving. Oh, hello. I thought you were asking a question, Gary. Put his hand up like that to wave. So that's me, but what I would say is that I have a lot of other experience within coaching as well. I've been a coach education tutor with British Weightlifting, and I've also been a coach education tutor with the GAA. I used to work for the GAA as well, and I also sit in the board of directors for Netball Northern Ireland. So those are some of the higher level things. At the bottom end of things, I've also coached under 8s in hurling. I've also coached under 12s or 12-year-olds in Olympic weightlifting, and that is quite a challenge, as you can imagine. So I have a big range of experience there, and that's hopefully what I want to get across to you today, is some of that and some of the value out of that. But the more important thing for me is that you actually get what it is you want out of it. So with regards to post-its, has everyone had a post-it? Who hasn't had one? Up the back? Have you good catching hands? Oh, right. So basically on the post-its, what I want is things that you want out of this workshop today, because I have essentially got 4 presentations here. I've got 4 presentations today in front of me, and I can jump in to anyone to get what it is you want out of it, okay? Because I'd rather do this tailor-made to you. But that being said, there's obviously things that I'm definitely going to cover today. So if you want to just pass up your post-its up to the front so I can have them here. I would love it if you're critical, harsh, think for yourself, okay, and ask me tough questions. Richard Feynman said that he would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. So if you've got a question for me today that I can't answer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a WhatsApp group for those of you who want to be in it, okay? And essentially any question that I can't answer today, I'll answer for you in that within a week, okay? And I'll also, oh cheers, brilliant, thank you. And I'll also put in anything that is of relevant that you want from these slides and stuff. So if you, after this, I don't want you stressing out about writing notes. What I have up there is I'm dyslexic and I'm not funny, okay? So if I do make a joke, please give me your best sort of attempt at a humor of it, right? I'm dyslexic, so I'll make mistakes like this one here. Critical, if you're a critical and think, yeah, I've got a word in there, I'm strong. I make mistakes sometimes, so I'm dyslexic. I've got this accent from up north as well. So hopefully at some point you'll understand me during the day. If you don't understand me, put up your hand, because what that means is it means that I haven't done a good job of explaining it, or you're thick. So that was another joke, you can laugh. Save it up for the next ones, they're going to be worse. So I'm going to provide some of the theory and the references and stuff, but I would say, is anyone here a student of psychology or anyway interested in that way? No? Cool. Brilliant. Yes. No tough questions. No, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make it as practical as possible. So at each point, I want you thinking along the lines of, how do I relate this back to what I do whenever I'm competing? So can you just put your hands up? Who here is competing in powerlifting? Cool. Who here is a coach? Okay. Who here is here for another reason? Okay. Okay, good. So that's fine. What I'm going to do is, here's the topics that I want to cover. Season planning, training, preparation for competition, warm-up, competition, and competition review. And then for coaches, I want to talk about constraints-based training, coaching psychology and communication, and decision-making and complexity theory. Okay, so we've just done this task, so I'm just going to go through what you've got. You've got an ability to control my aggression, a better process to settle myself. Cool. We've got kids get a good overview of sports psychology. Actually, is how I best implement it with members, others, and myself. How to judge better what each person needs based on their personality type, and how I act and say what I say to do. How to have your athletes trust you 100%. Okay. How to empower, make the general public trainer confident and happy they're doing. Mentality for comp, stress management. Ideas to train while injured. Mental training. How do you train for progress? Cool. Be better on the lead up to the game day, week before, day before. Cool. Aggression versus calm lifting. Replicating comp in practice, good or bad, and how do you go about it. How many here people were at ECP? Is any here? 2, 3, brilliant, okay, 4, cool. How to support and coach people who compete, not just the powerlifting but other styles, moving past anxious and apprehension. More exposure to psychology of coaching to build on current practices, same new ideas, uncomfortable into my own, incorporate into my own mindset. Become a telepath, yes. Good. If you find out how to do that, you know, that I would like to know that too. And my girlfriend would like me to know that as well. So, learn practical approaches for performance psychology and improving both my coach's process, be able to lift weights with my mind. Fuck yes. I'm buying this person a pint. Brilliant, okay. To be more confident with 1 RM weights, good. Right, stop self-doubts and stop self-doubting my abilities. Okay, come back from injury. This is good, guys, because there's some stuff here I wasn't going to cover, so it's good that we can adapt this. 1 hour break for food, yes, that's another person who earns a pint. Better understanding of psychology and to apply it for training. Okay, be more confident as a coach for my for whatever issues may arise. Because I'm dyslexic, I read that first as be more confident as a coach for whatever my arse and not arise. So, right. So we have a couple of winners on the suggestions there of what to cover. I'm going to run through first of all how the brain works and why that's important to you. But what times do you want breaks? Is there any specific time you just want to lunch at? Okay, well, we'll say 12-ish? Yeah. We'll take a wee break sometime between now and 12 anyway, probably around 11, 10-ish, somewhere in between. And we'll take a break for lunch at 12. Right, so I'm going to get stuck into this. This is your brain. Most of you will have one of these. If you do have it, it will be located up here between your ears. And this is the front of it. So just in below here is where your eyes are. This is your brain stem that goes down into your spine. And it's really important because essentially the brain is the most important thing in the body. Without a brain, nothing works. It has separated functions, and there's a really good case study where a guy called Phineas Gage, back in the the 1800s, got a railroad spike blown up through his eyeball, or through his jaw and out through his eyeball or something, but basically it damaged the front of his brain, and he still lived. And it changed his personality, and this is one of the first instances where, from a biological point of view, we realized that personality changes because of things that happen in the brain. So personality is located in the front here, and then the features of flight or flight are located here in the limbic system, which is this area. And essentially, we obviously use more than 10% of our brain. That's a big myth. Has anyone heard that? We only use 10% of our brain, or you use your left or your right at one time. So if I was to say you only use 10% of your foot for walking, you'd be like, nah, I don't think so, right? But also, if I was to say you use your fingers for walking, you'd be like, well, not really, Hugh, you don't. But actually, if I cut off all of your fingers on one hand, what happens when you walk? You're more likely going to go round in a circle for a while. Does that make sense? Because you're going to be off balance. Your body's going to have to relearn the skill. So every part of your body when you walk is being used to balance and being used to control your body. It's the same with your brain. If you've got a bit of a dysfunction in one area of it, it's going to affect another area of the brain. It's going to have knock-on effects, okay? So you do need your whole brain. You have two sides to your brain. You have a logical side, which is the frontal cortex, which again is this whole area here, is where you do most of the thinking, where you can think about the future, where you can plan things, where you can try and understand things. And the limbic system is the override button. Whenever things get too much, you're going to hit the override button and you'll be under pressure. We are limited by our understanding of the brain. We still don't fully understand it and how it works. We know a number of things about it, but we still don't fully understand it. And one of the things I think is really important is the brain is the only thing that studies itself. In fact, the brain called itself the brain. Do you get me? Right? Because our brains are the things that studied. Our brains came up with the idea of, let's understand what this is, let's call our brain the brain. So it's kind of funny when you think about it. So it obviously thinks it's very important. So we have this system. This is what the brain looks like when it's connected to the nervous system. We have this understanding. These are big words. I'm not a big fan of big words, so we'll change that. There are feelings, actions, and thoughts, okay? For those of you at EPC, don't worry, this is not going to be the full EPC presentation, but it's just a foundational thing that you need to understand. So there's feelings, actions, and thoughts. And what happens is your brain is used for feelings, actions, and thoughts. They're critically important. Now, let's separate these out. In terms of feelings, actions, and thoughts, which do you think of these is more controllable? Have a quick discussion with who you're sitting beside. Which is more controllable? Louder discussion. Which ones do you have the most control of? Do you have more control of your feelings? Do you have more control of your actions? Or more control of your thoughts? Who?
A bit of control over your thoughts.
You have a bit of control over your thoughts? Yeah. Okay.
The first thought you might not, the second thought you do like. So you try and change your thinking. Feelings just kind of come from within.
Yeah, okay. So feelings come within, right? The second thought, that's interesting. You said it was a trick question, or you thought?
Yeah, it seems like they all kind of influence each other.
Yeah?
Like your actions will have an impact on what you're feeling and your thoughts and vice versa.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, you're perfectly right. And again, that's what this model says, is that how you feel impacts your thoughts, how you act impacts your feelings and your thoughts, and how you feel. Basically, it's a big circle, okay? So they all impact each other. And again, you kind of multi-layers. What's your name? Yeah? Tasha. So as Tasha said, your thoughts then can affect your next thoughts, and then can affect your next thoughts, and then you can affect your next thoughts. And what we call that is we call that rumination, or it's a feature of anxiety where you might actually be overthinking and just going into a spiral of thoughts of having the same thought. I'm in this problem, I don't have a solution. I'm in this problem, I don't have a solution. And that would be, you get yourself into a bit of a rumination cycle there. So what I want to do is, I want to separate these out a bit. So I'm going to ask you all to play along. I'm going to apologise to you in advance. Has anyone here ever chewed tinfoil? Chewed tinfoil. So I've got a bit of tinfoil here. I want you all to take a piece, right? Just a small amount. And I want you to trust me, okay? So I want you to rip off just about a square, a 1 inch square, that's all you need, okay? So, rip off a bit.
You're not going to ask to chew, will you?
What?
You're going to ask to chew, will you?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I never, why would you chew that?
You were obviously were never a kid. Right. Here, pass that over there, rip off a bit. Don't worry guys, this is, you've got your own, right? Rip a bit off, right? Do we need some more? You got enough? Right, so here's what we're going to do. Everyone's got the piece of tinfoil. You're going to basically scrumple it up into a ball. Do you want me to do it with you, just to be nice? Okay. It's always the way, isn't it? This is trust building. So, you've got your bit of tinfoil. I'm just looking around to see if I've got spoons out. No? Right, we can edit the inappropriate jokes out. So, what you're going to do, you're going to put it in. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to chew it. You're going to chew it for 30 seconds. Okay, that's all you have to do. First of all, when you start chewing it, I just want you to notice what's happening. In terms... I don't mind if you swallow it, just don't choke, right? So I want you to notice what's happening in terms of your feelings, your actions, and your thoughts. So as soon as you start chewing it, what happens? How do you feel? What's your actions? What's your thoughts, right? And then after 10 seconds, I want you to pick one of these and try and change it. And then after 10 seconds, I want you to pick another one and try and change it, okay? So if you think an action might be, woo, right? If that's what you want to do, that's fine. A thought might be, you might want to think of something happy as opposed to something painful. Okay? You with me? So 30 seconds, notice what's happening, and then try and change something. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, fuck. Is anyone getting shocks off the back of the teeth, yeah? Are you trying to change something? Try and smile when you're doing it. Try and think about what you did last Tuesday. Okay, spit it out. Right. Very simply, what did you experience when you were doing that?
I was anticipating it hurting, so I didn't actually bite down on the 100%.
I thought you were cheating. Who experienced a bit of a hurt, a bit of a shock when they did it? Yeah? Okay. What was the initial reaction when you had that bit of a shock?
I've just been electrocuted. Obviously, I haven't, it's not electricity.
Yeah, but you're like, oh, it feels like electricity. It's like, oh, right, okay. In terms of actions then, how did you act when you got that shock? Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. And then, what was your thought after that, maybe? Let's not bite down too hard on it again. And your feelings then were obviously a wee bit more anxious, right? This basically works along the lines of flight or flight. You're always in a state between here and here. And what happens is when you're in a stressful situation, your ability to separate out your thoughts becomes much, much less capable. All right? So if I put you in a flight or fight situation, you're going to end up with, if I put you in a flight or flight situation, you're going to end up not being able to get out of those thoughts. Does that make sense? You're not going to be able to control your actions. So I was delivering a presentation once in uni and completely panicked. Like my tongue, I felt as if my tongue swelled up to the size of the room, and I was just like, so I just walked out. It was a group presentation. I was the opening speaker. I was like, bye. And literally walked out of the room, went walking for half an hour, and then realized I was hungry, right? It was proper flight mechanism of like, oh, panic, leave. That's exactly what happened. But I'm sure some of you have been in situations where you've got really enraged, really full, or you've got a fright, and you've just froze, or you've got into a situation where you're ready to fight. So you don't have control whenever you're in this flight or flight mode, and it's important that you're able to self-regulate down and get back into the logical mode so that you can make good decisions. So we'll come on more to that, but I want you all up on your feet. So what's going to happen is just give yourselves a bit of a shake. Give yourselves a bit of a shake. Who can tell me who's on the screen? Right. Yeah. And what's the song? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So basically, the thing about business cards is, so basically I've got a lot of business cards here. The thing about them is I got them before Instagram came out. Apparently you don't need business cards now. So I use this as a way to like recycle them. Right. Basically, there's no X in that. If you get the card with X on it, you're going to be Shane McGowan. If you get the card with a circle on it, you're going to be Kirsty McCall. And you're going to sing a duet. Okay? I'm going to hand you out the card. It's going to be face down. Okay? Or you're going to pick out a card. It's going to be face down. And don't look at it until we're all ready to turn them over. Okay? Happy? No. Right. Okay. So just take one. Keep it face down. That's it. Oh, keep it face down. Oh, you've got two. Yeah, pass one. Keep it face down. Oh, you're going to. Who else is? There's a few shy people there. Oh.
Yeah, you.
Right, okay. Now, so if you've got an X, you're Shane McGowan. If you've got a 0, you're Kirsty McCall. Are you ready to turn it over? Okay, so whoever's singing, come up to the front. Okay, guys, sit back down. Have a seat. So, what happened? You wanted to leave? Some people weren't walking to the front, they were going to the door.
My jaw kind of goes, I'm not doing this. Freeze.
Oh shit!
Freezer.
Oh no, you're freezing. Okay. Anyone? Anyone start? Their palms start sweating a bit. Heart rate start going.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like whoa. Okay. What happens during a competition? So, this is the basics of psychology, and the reason I'm covering this is because it's important that you understand these basics, that your actions, your feelings, and your thoughts all affect each other. How you view a situation, if it puts you in this fight or flight mode, you need to be able to recognize that, and that might be a great thing. And I'll talk more about that in terms of performance anxiety and in terms of psyching yourself up or levels of arousal later. But the simple way to look at it, and this comes from a CBT, approach, is you've got the event, the activating event, the belief about the event, the consequence, and then a disputing a belief, and then the effect. So A, B, C, D, E. And what this is essentially is certain events will trigger people into fight or flight. And those events might be, this is a new PB, this is me coming back from rehab, this is me performing in an environment where I'm not safe or secure. I'm sure you've all been to a competition. I mean, is that everyone here from City Gym? One person, okay. Is everyone here has obviously been to a place where they're familiar, right? And then you go to another place to do the same thing and it's unfamiliar. Even if it's going to the gym, you're like, I don't know if I like the people in this gym. They all look different, you know? I don't like the layout of this gym. Even if it's just going for a simple session yourself, you're going to feel affected by the various amount of things. So activating events are essentially anything that causes you to go off thinking about feelings, your actions, or your thoughts. Your belief about the event is going to be what you hold within yourself about that, the judgment you make. Are you comfortable here? Are you not comfortable here? Is this a risk to you? Is it not a risk to you? I had a woman actually who, when I was a fitness instructor when I was younger, was talking to me, and she was scared of central heating. I know. And it's like legitimate fear, was borderline close to stopping her going out of the house, and it was a case of, anywhere I see central heating, I just think I'm going to get too warm and I'm going to pass out. I was like, wow, that was her activating event. That was her belief about the event, and the consequence was she felt under pressure anytime she went out, but she also then was panicking and a bit sort of more high-strung about it. So one of the things I said to her was, when do you go to places where you don't pass out with the central heating? So get her to think about times when that doesn't happen. And therefore then she's building up this idea of, oh wait, it's not always like that. It's challenging this unhelpful belief. And then the effect of that is it reduces down the effect of going into fight or flight or starting this panic. Does that make sense? Now, there's ways we can sort of short circuit this, which is, I want to relate this now to coaching. We've had a few questions up here. How would you relate this to coaching or competing in the gym? What would be an activating event, and how would that cause somebody to spin off?
Specific number that they're always afraid of.
Yeah, so somebody who's trying to get over, what would be a number that somebody would stall on?
Just because I was listening to that, like the numerical USA, they would say say 100 kilos as the couple of lifters, 30.
Uh-huh.
But 99, they've done it
Yeah, so people can get this idea of, there's a belief about, oh no, it's a 3-figure number, getting over that barrier. Or again, it might be, you know, 140, 200. Whenever there's something there, a bit of a milestone, it becomes a bit more of a, oh no, that's something I haven't been past, and therefore they get this belief about whether or not it's possible. Consequences, that's going to put them into a place where they're not going to perform as well. Especially if they appraise it as this is risky, if they appraise this as I might get hurt from this. The other way they could appraise it is I have to be more aggressive, I have to attack this. So the same situation can cause one person to be, oh no, can cause another person to be, right, really have to go for this. Okay? So this is why it's very important for you to understand yourselves as a person, as that what is the things that cause you an issue, and what are the things that you could challenge about that, or similarly, how would you approach that better? And the other thing is, how can you dispute the issue? So doing 100 kilo, right? Very simple way of getting somebody more confident in that is put 100 kilo in the racks. They're obviously stronger from, in a deadlift, for example. They're obviously stronger from lockout, and then they can lower the weight down. Or in a squat, you could lower the weight down on the pins to show that you actually can control the descent, same with the bench. So, very simple way of creating a disputing belief. It goes, wait a minute, I'm actually strong enough for this part of the lift. It takes a bit of the fear off the other part. Does that make sense? So, again, it's one of the things we would use with our athletes is that rack presses, for example, they realize that, you know, lowers and rack presses are very challenging because we can put more weight on the bar, but that builds confidence as well. A short circuit to this is, see this activating event, weight making, for example. When do people miss out if they're making weight? They go out with their friends, for example, and they have a pizza and a couple of beers, and there's an event there that causes them to go into, oh, it's okay, just one beer, or oh, it's okay, just one slice of cake, turns into, okay, just one cake, right? So the activating event, the other way to affect the cycle happening, if it's a negative cycle, is to actually avoid the activating event. So again, that can be a productive performance strategy, or it can be something that is, or it can be something that the person might put in place, which will cause an issue. So, when I say something that a person might put in place to cause an issue, what I mean by that, somebody can become avoidant of a thing that makes them good. For example, if there's a certain lift or movement that they don't want to do because they're afraid of it, they can become avoidant of that behavior, which is very common, especially within beginners, is this idea that, oh, I don't want to do that, that move's difficult, I don't feel good at it, I don't feel competent at it, therefore they avoid it and miss the gains. So, I saw this on Twitter. Have people seen this from Peter? Now, the other thing I should have put in at the start of this talk was I don't want to offend anybody, and I apologize if I do offend you. And I've got nothing against animals. But what is a thought? And this made me laugh because it was like, well, birds can't hear what I say about them, you know, so it's not really going to affect them. I don't think birds are going to be offended, or guinea pigs or horses or whatever. So for those of you who can't read this, it's basically, instead of saying beat a dead horse, you have to say feed a fed horse, not defend horses' feelings. Right, what is a cognition or a thought? So when we think about cognitive behavioral therapy, we think A, B, C. What are these thoughts, feelings, actions? What are the things, the thoughts? What's a thought?
Like an inner voice.
An inner voice, okay, cool. What's that inner voice saying inside you now? The voice outside is bigger than the voice inside. Okay, cool. right, there's other types of cognitions, there's other types of thoughts. There's obviously images, right? So I'm sure you can all think of an image of your most proudest moment. When was your most proudest moment? Just have a think about that. Close your eyes if you want to, right? Just think of your most proudest moment. Try and see an image there. In fact, everyone close their eyes because it'll work better if you do. So close your eyes. Just think of when you were most proudest, right? There's something that happened to you, and you're like, yep, this is me at my best. I'm super proud today. This was a good day. Now, I want you to change it. I want you to change it to a memory of the time you laughed the most. When was the time you like borderline wet yourself with laughter recently? Can you remember that? Please don't wet yourself now with laughter. Okay, let's take a look up. So, your thoughts are both images, they're both the words, and they're memories. Does that make sense? How many people felt a change in their feelings whenever we thought about the things that made us proud? A few people were like, yeah, that was good. You nearly started laughing when I asked you to think about when's the last time you laughed until you cried, right? So so if we think about it, right, you all have the ability to have a thought, to have an image, to say something that conjures this cycle to go in a way that you want it to go. And it's very important then that you understand that's how the brain works, that things get triggered off. It's like an avalanche, and you essentially kind of spiral into a place that you want to be. But it's not always under your control. It's not under your control if, oh, put your hand up if you've had a mental health issue. Just me, class, right? No, but seriously, it's like, I have to be honest about it because it's psychology, and if we're going to remove a taboo about mental health issues, let's be honest about it. I've had a mental health issue. A time whenever you are not in control of your thoughts and feelings is whenever you have a mental health issue like depression or like anxiety. You get into a spiral and it goes to a place you don't want to go. So you're not always in control of it. So therefore, it's very important that I give you this message of, yes, you can control your thoughts. Yes, you can think of a memory, think of an image, or talk to yourself in a way that makes you feel good. But actually, it doesn't mean you can go into somebody and say, oh, just be happy. No, don't ever do that. It doesn't work. Okay, it's up to the person themselves, and they have to develop the ability and skill. So it's an ability and skill to control your thoughts and your feelings, right? And one of the things that is really interesting about some of the research from treating depression is that if you get somebody to go to judge how good going for a walk or going for a run it will make them feel, they'll rate it out of maybe a 3 out of 10. And then you say, then there's no motivation for them to go to do that. But if they go and do the run afterwards, they'll say, well, that was a 9 out of 10, I felt really good afterwards. And there seems to be a disconnect between what people perceive a benefit is going to be versus how they actually feel after it. And that disconnect is bigger in people with mental health issue of depression. So this is why, if you are in a difficulty, so if I'm looking at you from a psychology point of view and I'm managing your competition day, or I'm managing you in the gym, I don't care too much about what your feeling is. I don't care too much about what your thoughts are. I care about what I can get you to do. Doing is being. And if you start doing something, it's going to get that cycle going in the place the way that you want it to be. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Guys, give me a time check there. Somebody got the time? 10, okay. I'm very aware that I get into a bit of a let's talk, and I don't like that. So what I want to do is I want you to just very quickly before we move on to sort of, I'm coming up to the end of this section, which is basically understanding the basics of psychology. I want you to just come at me with some questions and what have I made unclear, what was, and how do we need to relate that to lifting or your situations. So just have a quick discussion with the person beside you. What was beneficial there? What was kind of like, I get this now, and what do I still need clarification on, or how can I relate this to my lifting, okay? So quick discussion there, 3 minutes, go. So, if any of you ever working with a group, apparently you put music on, conversation works better, because otherwise it's just like this sort of eerie silence. It was sort of waiting for one person to break it. So, who said what? Who had a question? Who had a, first of all, what was your big moments there of like, all right, I get this now, this is understandable? Anyone? Oh shit, I've done a bad job. Right, so what stood out is like, what clicked with you?
Patrick was saying just the last point you made before, you made a reference to go for a run, the motivation before and the goal after you do it is high. People who suffer anxiety, depression, disconnect between those is huge. I just in my head then, I was like, how do we bring that disconnect more closer together, you know? Or trying to think of ways I do with clients with a coach, so that what's worked, what doesn't work. And see what we're talking about. When it comes to the point where you just want to say to someone, you tried everything, you should just fucking be happy with it. There's still a big massive pain. You don't know if someone's like, are they mentally depressed? Or is it a fad to be mentally depressed these days? So,
Okay.
emo.
Yeah. I think we could have a conversation for days about that, you know? Yeah.
It does seem to roll off the tongue a lot easier now, anxiety and depression. You know, it's very easy to label someone as that.
Yeah.
You might just be a bit sad at the moment.
Yeah.
You know? It's like you might have got fired from your job and you don't want to go into the gym and train, like,
Yeah.
how would we call that depression? Like, shit happens. You know?
Yeah.
Too easy a word to use these days. When everybody, you probably know someone that actually is proper fucking. If you're close to them and you see people that are upset and just down, you know the difference.
Yeah.
There is a big difference there.
I think it's,
Like if we bring it into context rather than it being a huge social thing, if we bring it into the gym, we're here for a job. Someone's like, is like that, they're all like, you know, depressed and down. It's even they're posting on social media and it's like, oh, dealing with depression today, and then like a sad face emoji.
yeah.
So I was like, are you done? And then why are you coming into it? Like, they don't put the training to them, you know? It's like, how do you like bring that disconnect?
Okay, so let's deal with that. I think I've opened up the can of worms there, and I'm going to need to deal with this can of worms because it's important. So, if you're depressed, the way I would look at it is you would be diagnosed, and you'd be diagnosed by a doctor or a health worker or something along that line. And there are scales which I use with athletes, which tell me at what level of depressive symptoms they have. So there's the GAD and the PHQ, and essentially they fill in a wee checklist. So with depression, I think there might be something like 9 separate symptoms, but you're categorized as having depression if you have 5 of these symptoms over a period of 2 weeks. Okay? What that means essentially is that if you reach a cutoff point, so you've got a population, you've got most people are here, like here's good, and you know, bit of stress, whatever else is going on. Here's like, oh, getting close to a point. Here's, okay, we're at the point now where things are getting very serious. And then here's like, we're in the deep shit. So you're on a spectrum, right? The shortest period of time that somebody has gone from being fully healthy to attempting suicide, how short do you think that has been? 30 seconds. So basically, if you look into the research on suicidality, they conduct interviews with people who've like tried to kill themselves. Guys, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to get deep into this topic, so I apologize if it's hypersensitive for some of you. But essentially, you know, people just walking home, going, there's a bridge, fuck it, and off they go. And literally, when you think about how little control we have over our thoughts, how you can get into this spiral, that can happen very fast. If you think about it like that, you don't know at what point somebody can go from here to there, like that. And essentially, the way I look at it is, how would you want somebody to treat you or somebody you care about? So if, you know, people do overuse this word, and again, I know people who'll overuse the word and they'll be like, they can become very difficult and very draining for you to deal with. But then again, like, I can think of how I was very difficult and very draining as well, being in a difficult place. So I can see it from both sides, if you know what I mean. So I think your job is to help people, judge people, but don't let yourself get dragged in and fatigued from the process of that. So it's about being open and being listening, and offering support where you can, but at the same time not letting yourself get dragged into it being your responsibility, because it's not someone else's responsibility to fix people with mental health issues. It's their own issue. The same way, it's my ankle's fucked, right? Yes, first swear word, second swear word, Gar, right? I was going to try not to swear today, but my ankle's fucked, but it's my responsibility to fix that. It's not, nobody else can go and tell me to do that. If they tell me to go and do my rehab exercise and do this and do that, I'm not going to do them. There's no motivation there. It's not up to me to do it. So actually, it has to be their responsibility, and they have to find a way to do that. So I want to just open up that idea you talked about, from like here to here, of, you know, going for this run versus not wanting to go for this run in this gap, right? The very simple way, and this is the best tool that I can give you, is what can you do in the next 10 seconds that will move you just slightly closer, right? So I asked you to chew tinfoil for 10 seconds. That was an achievable task. It was like something you all got into. If I said I want you to chew this tinfoil for the next 2 hours and you're going to feel like an accomplished warrior of teeth or whatever it is, you know, and you'd be like, you'll be so hardcore, you'd be like, nah, not a chance, Hugh. 10 seconds? Yeah. So your job is, if you're a coach, is to ask somebody, look, out of 10, how difficult is this for you? And if they say 7, don't do it. I want you to do something no, I'm going to flip that around. If I say, out of 10, how difficult is this for you? And they say 3, don't do it. No, I've messed it up again, right? If I say, what's the certainty of you doing this out of 10? So certainty of you doing it out of 10. And they say 7, don't do it, okay? 9 or higher, right? What can you do for me in this gym today that you're 100% certain you can achieve, that's 9 or 10 out of 10 of certainty? Give them that, because that's the achievement. You're setting that within their capability, and if they achieve that, that's like the snowflake that creates the avalanche. You dropped in a snowflake, so you're only looking for snowflakes, you're not looking for avalanches. Avalanches are caused by snowflakes. You have to find the right snowflake. Please don't use the term snowflakes in front of me. I'm losing control of this already. Right, was there yeah, was there anything else in terms of what you've picked up from this morning already that was of interest or aha moments?
Why can you make us think with the thoughts? Like as soon as you said think of something funny, it feels like give living in your
Yeah.
So how much it affected not just the inside, the outside?
Yeah. Cool. Good example. Anything else clicked for people today?
Sort of similar to what I was talking. Say we're talking about the run, like the discord between how motivated Like some of the people are coaching, even some at like one higher level, like if you went to like an international competition last week that would have been diagnosed with X, Y, and Z. A lot of the times, small things can set them off into a very negative spiral. Like let's say something is moving at the right RP point for them on a set day of it. They often, a lot of them talk about like quitting due to a reaction to one event. And like what I typically say to them is just like, well, just remember like you're doing this for yourself, you know these sports on the years, so if you want to quit, go for it by all means. But then there is that big discord between how someone feels in a moment versus afterwards, and it's such a big part of their life. So I think it is like that sort of dialogue, like approach in that situation.
Okay. How I look at that from a psychology perspective is if you're thinking about them being a long-term success in the sport, and you're the person that controls the motivation, and you're going like, I could tell them to just quit and that's it, that'll do them. Or I could tell them to, and then they'll do what they want. Or I could say, oh no, come on, keep going, you're nearly there. There's two things, is you're building a support network around them. Are you always going to be there? Are you then the thing that's supporting their performance? So are they developing a performance that's sustainable? That that's like the very last slide of today, is the understanding your philosophy of approach. Are you there to develop somebody? Or are you there to actually create somebody who's sustainable themselves? And again, there isn't a right answer there. It's just, what do you want to do? So do you want to be somebody who's like supporting somebody, but realizing as soon as like you're sick or you die or you're moving house, moving gym, or they move off to a different place, they no longer perform at that level? So it's, what are you building and when are you building it? Because it's all right to support performance. It's perfectly fine to do that. See, coming up to competition, support, 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 support. See, away from competition, develop, 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 develop. And it's somewhere, you're like, somewhere it flips, and that's down to you. And again, if you look at American football players go bust. 95% of them go bust within 5 years. They're like, why? Because when they are in an American football system, the sport says, oh, you're class, we're going to put money all around you. There's going to be like 3 levels of money around you. There's going to be all your mates and friends and your entourage is going to have money, and you're going to have money, and it's going to be supported. And then as soon as it comes outside of football, it's like, well, you're no longer worth anything to us. So all that's staying there, and they're like, oh shit, what I've got. And they don't know how to manage their money. They don't know how to manage themselves. They just basically go into a spiral because it's been support, 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 support. So when you look at American football, or you look at Premiership soccer, the performances correlate with the amount of money spent. So essentially, it's not a genuine performance, especially in soccer. It's a bit different in American football. So yeah, it's just, what's your philosophy? What can you afford to give? What are they looking for? You know. So I don't have an answer, but yeah, but that's my answer. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, it's really up to you. It's up to you to think, am I over supporting? Am I developing them? And when should I? You should be doing both. And when do you change from one to the other? And when's it important? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Right, I want to bang this off. Sorry, right, so I asked you what's clicked. Is there any questions or anything that needs clarification that I've delivered? Yes?
Okay, would you mind just to go back on that on slide?
This one?
No.
This one?
Yeah, that one. My question is, I created a situation in my head, so I don't know the answer. So I hope.
Good.
Let's just say, we have people in the gym, And I don't know if they want to do things, but they're afraid, or if they don't have interest at all. All the situation that I was talking to him, it's a kind of hard thing to explain. They just say, I want to stay at home on a Friday night, or I'm actually anxious of meeting people. So how do I define something that I want to do but I'm afraid, and that triggers me to avoid the situation, or I actually don't want to do it?
Okay. Yeah. How do you distinguish between somebody who is wanting to do something versus somebody who doesn't want to do something?
Yeah.
All right. What I would say is, at some point, if I don't want to do something, so there's things I don't want to do, the dishes, right? And I'll do them at a point, but I'm never going to go like, I'm never going to leave the house, you know, and go out and go like, I regret not doing those dishes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's regret. After the event, there's regret. So if they wanted to do it, they'd be like, oh, I missed out on this, or I missed out on that, or I didn't do this, or that could have been better, I should have gone. So if they're shoulding all over themselves, I should have done this, I should have done that, it shows regret. It shows that there was a desire there, that they wanted to go, but they just didn't bring themselves to the point of committing to something.
Yeah. But if there's someone that keeps avoiding all the time, like as a coach-wise, I just like I have a few people that I can think about in the gym that they would like to go for competitions, but because they're strong in the gym, they're afraid of not being strong there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. So then, what I would say is that's down to your skill of a coach, whereby you have to listen to them. Okay. And what I might do later is I might talk about motivational interviewing, which is exactly what you need in this situation, where you essentially sit down and you go through a process of asking them what they want, where they want to get to, and understand the situation that they're in. And there's a certain process of how you formulate one of these conversations, where you understand where they're at, you understand where they want to get to, and then you would use that scaling ruler of like, right, out of 10, how happy are you? And they might go a 6, and then you say, okay, why are you a 6 and not a 5? And then they'd say, well, because I do this and because I do that and because I do this. That's their motivations, that's the things, their strengths that they're doing well at. And they might say, oh, well, because I train hard, because I put this in, because I put that in. Okay, so you've got all those things going for you. Right, why are you not a 7? What would a 7 look like? And they would say, well, a 7 would be like, I actually got the entry form, I've got a program read out. And you're like, oh shit, right, that's what I need. I need a small thing of an entry form and the program read out. That will give them the confidence to move towards, you know, the 10 of actually competing. Does that make sense? So whenever we take a very fluffy thing like I want to do, I don't want to do, we break it down into, give me a number. What's the difference between that number and the one below it and the one above it? Then you start to understand what are the things around their behaviours and lifestyle that they need to change. Does that make sense? So that's a good way of framing the conversation around that. I can talk more about that later though, if you want. Happy?
Yeah.
Cool, okay. Any other questions from what we've delivered so far?
Can I ask a really silly question? I want to ask it anyway because I have a clue.
Good.
What do you do when you're doing as a sports psychologist, so mental training skills and sports? What is it you actually do? You go in and work with someone in the gym and coach them through lifting, or just you need someone one-on-one?
Well, okay, so I'm actually going to go through some things that I do, so that we're going to move on to later on. So in terms of building confidence, in terms of situations dealing with anxiety and stuff like that, and competition anxiety, not clinical anxiety. So I'm going to go through that with you now. I want to go through a bit in decision making first. Is that okay? And we'll go through that. But yeah, it's from a simple point of view, it's speaking one-to-one with people, it's observing competitions and it's seeing what actually happens when they perform and finding out about what's going on there. So I'll talk more about that. That'll unfold throughout the day, okay? And if I haven't answered it, I'll answer it more succinctly at the end, okay? Any other questions or things that we're uncertain of in the morning? Cool, okay. Right, guys, I want to just throw this out. Some of you might have heard of the chimp paradox, about the idea that the limbic system is a chimp and this bit of your brain is the memory bank and this bit here, the frontal lobe, is the human. I went to one of Steve Peters, he's the guy, have you heard of him? Some of you might have heard of him. He was the psychologist for British cycling and stuff. I went to one of his talks and it took me 3 questions to get him to ask me to leave the room. So I asked him 3 hard questions and he basically wasn't impressed. And it's a habit I have of just being harsh and critical with people, and like I don't deal with fluff. So these 2 papers are really important because they talk about how metaphors shape our understanding of the world. The bottom image is there because we don't really have the language to discuss the brain because we don't fully understand the brain, and we keep talking about the brain. Some people talk about it as hardware, software, connections, things like that, but it's not just that simple. We can't take an idea and transplant it on. I can't talk about a car like a tree and think I'm going to go and grow some new tires for my car, you know. So when we use a metaphor, we lose the knowledge of what the thing is. Does that make sense? We lose the ability to fully understand it. Our world is shaped by metaphors. So these 2 papers, the first one is the role of metaphor in reasoning. What they found out is that if you have a metaphor of, say for example, crime as a virus versus crime as a beast, a scourge in the city. If you have a virus, you are more likely to come up with the idea of, oh, we'll treat the symptom, we'll be very caring for the disadvantaged communities where there's high crimes, and we'll look after all the symptoms. Whereas if you're told it's a beast, then it's a beast that's out of control, you'll be much more in favour of harsher penalties and combating it front on. The metaphors that you use to understand the world shape how you act. That's scary. The next one is even scarier because what they found out is even if you're told these metaphors, so if you've been read a news report, for example, in this study of the city is covered with a virus, or the city is, you know, has the beast of crime, or whatever the news reporters use, even if you're presented with all the different options in front of you of how to treat it, you're still influenced by the metaphor. That's how strong metaphors are. Because you're basically humans which listen to stories. I can sit here and talk to you about facts all day long. I tell you one story, you're going to leave with that. That's why metaphors and how people understand the world is really, really important. So when we use simple terms like software, hardware, and we think, oh yes, it's just there's something wrong with your hardware, there's something wrong with your software in your brain, or we talk about the chimp inside us and the human, like Steve Peters' thing, we actually reduce our level of autonomy and control. And if I reduce my control and go, it's not my fault, it's my brain's fault, how do you think that's going to affect my actions, thoughts and feelings? I'm going to be less likely to actually do something. Does that make sense? Because I'm now stuck in I've got this thing to blame situation. Okay, I want to bash through this next bit quite, going to divide the room in half. So just, I'll divide it here, so down here, right? So Gar, you're on this side, you're on this side, you're in behind there. You guys are on that side, right? Group 1 here. So just grab somebody beside you in a group of 2 or 3. Grab somebody beside you in a group of 3 or 2. So group 1, group 2. Group 1, what's meant by the term they're mentally tough? Group 2, what is meant by the term they have inner steel? Okay? I'm going to give you a quick 3 minutes. What do you guys think? Group 1. What's meant by the term mentally tough?
We had like 2 different ideas. You want to go first?
I thought that could be someone that is stuck because they don't want to do something. So instead of you going for things that you want to do, it's actually the mentally toughness just stopping you to be where you are and not acting. And then the second idea is actually you going for it and knowing something about it despite of what's happening.
So you're doing what you need to do in spite of like a cloud, depression,
Yeah.
no real. You're
Yeah.
just, like,
That's
you're training despite shit happening.
Yeah. So despite the fact that it's tough, you still keep going.
Yeah.
And it could, well, you're saying depression, but it could just be the fact you're hungover, or it could be the fact that you could have just had 2 weeks of a solid, intense block of sessions, and you're fatigued, and you're like, oh, I can't do another session.
It's like for me, okay, so I work from 8 to 4 and come into the gym. The last thing I want to do, like I could say the last thing I want to do is come in and do tempo squats, tempo bench, and pop.
Yeah.
I could very easily say, oh, my phone is broken and I can't send my videos to my coach.
Yeah.
And just go home and play PS4 for the night because, oh, I had a shit day in work.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I know I need to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do, if I want to go to a competition and have the great fucking day that I want to, the great day that I want to have, I go into the gym despite of having a shit day in work.
Yeah, you use a really good word, it's stubbornness. Like, you're being stubborn, or doing or not doing something. So mentally tough is you being stubborn in what you decide to go ahead or not. Stubbornness,
good. Okay, cool, brilliant. Up the back here, what did you guys get then? What did you guys think?
They deal with adversity well.
Deal with adversity well. Okay. Anything else?
Strong-minded.
Strong-minded. Strong character. Okay. Right. Cool. Actually, that chat is going to become very relevant. So, guys, there's going to be nudity in a minute. So, like, if anyone's a bit sensitive, cover the eyes. Basically, is terminology important? There's a whole heap of research out there and about how people using the term mentally tough, especially coaches, can become a method of abuse. So like, oh, I'm going to toughen them up. But nobody can be toughened up by a coach. They can only be toughened up by themselves. There's also an example of the downside of this, which is, oh, I'm going to get tough, I'm going to push through this injury and expose yourself to more risk, to more injury. So whenever you make a decision of the terminology, is that terminology socially desirable? Is the terminology used with people something that causes them to push towards something, a behavior that's risky? And another thing that's really interesting is in this paper in the bottom, on the bottom left, Iraq war veterans who were self-described and rated as, you know, being tough, and toughness was an important value and belief for them. They were at a higher risk of post-traumatic stress disorder. So that kind of is this idea of being, because we don't want to not make people better. We don't want people not to be able to handle tough situations, but we don't want to force them down a route where actually it exposes them to risk. It increases their chance of, obviously you're not putting anybody in warlike situations in training, at least I hope not. But you don't want to force somebody into something, because that, if you're forcing somebody into something, you're reducing their control. And that's a big issue. You want people to be in control of what they're doing. So when we look at psychology, this example here, so I did have slideshow. I did have a bit of a technical issue with my slides this morning, so apologies for having to jump into this one. And show. Yeah. Okay, so play from current slide.
Not winning the World Cup was bad enough for South Africa. Watching their players naked and humiliated in a boot camp video now being shown around the rugby world is proving to be something of a national calamity. This film of the players at the so-called Camp Staldrad Motivational Centre prior to the competition has only just emerged, with it tales of 3 days and 4 nights of extreme bonding, or arguably torture. From doing naked press-ups in the veld, to be
carrying top poles this size between tyranny, which happened in the first where it's cold and you're not physically unpleasant. What are you going to do if you start to show? Are you going to relax? Keep your body calm?
Whether beating each other up parachute regiment style or pumping balls full of water while naked is good for tactics in the modern game is certainly debatable. Sports psychologists say it's nonsense.
And if you then face your fears,
certainly depriving players of sleep while dousing them with water in a pit or making them carry tractor tyres through the night seems a little odd just weeks before the World Cup.
Yeah, Davy Fitz was in South Africa, for anybody who follows hurling. What?
That was 2003 World Cup, I mentioned this.
Yeah, so 2004 World Cup, I think they had but it was 2000. For that, yeah. Yeah, it's preparation for it. So they actually, this was 2 weeks before, so they put them through the 2 weeks before the event. They were going through something like this, or before the start of the event. And what that is essentially abuse. It's forcing players into positions to do things that have no psychological benefit whatsoever, other than, you know, some kind of, we're going to punish you into, you know, being tough. It just doesn't work with people. It's not how you do things. In fact, if I'll talk about it, well, yeah, I'll talk about it now.
Finished that year, do you know?
They did terribly. They absolutely, yeah. They absolutely tanked it. So yeah.
With that thing being using anything better than absolute lunacy, the only thing I can think of that would do for that team is bring them closer together. In fact, they would, in their own minds, they might just think it doesn't work. We did it before as a team a couple of years ago, the only thing I was less of the team. But the only thing afterwards, we were all up together afterwards. And every single guy had a monstrous smile on his face.
Yeah.
We just got the living shit kicked over us for the entire day. Everyone hated it, everyone despised every second of it. We were all as happy as
yeah.
It made us, you know, not one fella became anything to be tougher from it.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, we all just seem to be.
There is actually, yeah, there is. So shared suffering is a way of creating bonds, right? So, but it's a case of, again, bell curve. You go to a point, so I can put you under stress. It's just like your mental capacity is just like your ability to adapt to training. Too much training, I break you. Same thing with this. But the issue is that the extremes to which they've gone to there is beyond, you know, beyond the level. What the pit they were in when they're dousing in the water, when they're trying to get sleep, that was a prison pit in South Africa where they used to keep prisoners. So basically in this pit in the ground, just like, have some water, don't be going to sleep, and you're in a pit and you can't get out. A couple of them actually ended up with mental health issues and PTSD from that experience. And if you think about Guantanamo Bay, what do you do to people in Guantanamo Bay? You take away all control, you reduce their ability to sleep, you expose them to extremes of temperature, you humiliate them, Abu Ghraib in Iraq. There were obviously pictures of that circulated. So these are the processes that they use for torture, not the processes they use for building people. So what I would say is, like, yeah, if people choose to go through something, that's fine. But there's a difference between choosing to go through something as a team versus choosing to go through it or being forced through it by a sadistic manager. So I'm going to jump to the very end of this. Oh, where's it at? I'm going to jump to. I'm going to jump to the very end because this is kind of, it's just a bit more relevant. Play for current slide. So I was going to do this at the end, but this guy, he is Robert Sapolsky. Has anyone ever heard of him before? Robert Sapolsky. I'm not gay, but I would totally be his bitch. He is that smart, right? His lectures on biology and humans and psychology are all on YouTube, and you can sit down and watch them, and it's like watching like a super hardcore David Attenborough. He is absolutely amazing. But he's got 4 things, right? He's got, or sorry, 5 things which he's studied. So he studied baboon troops within Africa, and he darted them, measured their cholesterol, noted what rank they were, noted, this is over a period of 9 years. I think he might have won a Nobel Prize for it. But he produced a massive amount of information about how these troops work and how people, or how essentially baboons work in a troop and how they respond to stress. And what he found is basically if you want to stress somebody out, you've got these 5 things. No control of situation, no social support, no predictive information, no signs it's getting worse, or signs it's getting worse, and no outlet for frustration. And the same principles have been replicated throughout human models as well. So if I look at what are the things that cause you stress, then they are going to be having no control, having no social support, no ability to predict how it's going to change. You've got some idea that things are getting worse, and you've got no outlet for your frustration. So if I'm looking at this from a point of view of, I want you to get strong, and these are the things that are going to increase your cortisol, and these are going to affect your ability to cope with stress, I'm going to make sure that I say, right, how do you get control? What can you control in this situation? Who's your mates? Are you spending time with your mates? Are you going out and actually having the social aspect? Do you have other things to do besides just powerlifting? How do you get predictive information of your situation? So if a situation is, right, I'm in a bit of a rut with my training, my numbers aren't going up, what other numbers are going up? So yes, your squat might not be going up, but your single leg squat numbers might have been going up. Some of your accessory movements with it related to squat might be going up. And if they're going up, then you're getting predictive information, therefore your stress is going down, therefore you're helping your ability to adapt. Signs it's getting worse, well again, that's tied into having predictive information, outlet for frustration. One of the things that people need to do is they need to get rid of frustration. It's the same with animals. And if you've got an animal in a stressful situation and they have something to do, or if you've got a person in a stressful situation, so I get under a bit of stress because I'm doing a lot of things. What do? I go on my skateboard. Can I skateboard? No. I only started to learn when I was 35. Well, but slightly, you're 32. But what happens when I'm on my skateboard? I'm scared. I'm trying not to lose my teeth. I'm trying not to fall off it. I'm completely engaged in the moment, and it's a form of an outlet for frustration because for those 30 minutes or 40 minutes that I'm on my skateboard playing about on it, I can't think about what I'm stressed out about because it's my outlet for frustration. So again, another good thing, drinking. No? Okay? But think about it. If you go out with your friends, you have a few beers, that chat with your friends, you're not thinking too much about the stress that you're in if it's a good chat. You've all been out for night outs where you are gone and had a good conversation with somebody. You've been chatting for 2 hours, it's felt like 15 minutes. That's when you're fully engaged in it and you're getting an outlet for your frustration, okay? So, what I'll do with athletes for, was yourself that asked the question? About what I do with athletes? No. Yeah. Similar. But yeah, so one of the things I will do with athletes is sit down and go through, like, how do you actually achieve these criteria to reduce your stress levels so you can adapt. What I'm going to do now is we're going to take a break. So we'll go take a 10-minute, 15-minute break, okay? And then we'll get back at it. If you've got questions or stuff, come up and throw them at me if you've got anything that you want me to cover whenever we come back. So 15 minutes we'll go for. Cool. What I want to do is, I feel as if I'm getting into the big discussions and topics. So I want to get down into you're a lifter, you're a coach, what do you do, and how do you make stuff happen that you want to make happen, okay? So I want to whiz through this next few bits to get onto that, and then we'll start talking about confidence, we'll start talking about anxiety, about what I actually do on a one-to-one basis and how that helps. But what I've tried to do is give you the foundation and a few critical thinking things. So in terms of mental toughness, it's obviously a bit of a bogus term. It's the things that come in underneath it. So what would you say, what words are psychological terms that we can all understand their meanings by way of agreed definitions? What words do you think would be like a psychological term? Because mental toughness and inner steel, the story I have about inner steel is that we were doing talent ID, and one of the clinical psychologists who screened a girl said she's got inner steel, and I was like, no, she doesn't. You show me an x-ray, I show you there's no inner steel in her. And this is the thing, because it's like everyone's like, oh yeah, inner steel, I want some of that. Well, actually, no, that's just a big fancy term that's actually meaningless. What does it mean she can do? You know? What is the thing that we saw that was different? We labelled it inner steel, but what's the psychological term there? So, just very quickly, shout out some words that you think are psychological terms that are useful. Confidence, yeah, cool, okay. Yep. What? Hype? Okay. Yeah. What else? Self-esteem. Self-esteem, yeah. Compassion. Discipline? Consistent. Consistent, okay. Consistent's good. Anything else? Empathy, yeah. Anything else? Resilience. Resilience, good. Yeah. Anything else? Love. Love. Anything else?
Fortitude.
Fortitude. What do you mean by that?
That's kind of like resilience, but it's more, I don't know, it seems more
it's more brandable. Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. Right, good. Right. Okay, anything else? Any other words? Right, good, okay. So, hype, I would call that arousal. Now, I don't know whether to pick on you or to move quietly on. We'll just move quietly on. Okay, arousal is actually a psychological term. And what we mean by arousal is your level of arousal. Sleeping to flat out rage, going for your deadlift PB. Right, self-esteem good, compassion's good, consistent. Consistent, the psychology term would be adherence to behaviour, okay? Empathy, good. Resilience, fortitude. I'm going to say that they're coming back towards the side of a wee bit soft and undefinable, kind of like interstitial mental toughness. But actually, we could talk about this, and we could say like post-traumatic growth, which is a thing of how a challenge causes you to bounce back better. Love, yeah, cool. We all need a bit of that. And the compassion as well. How you treat people is really important. So these are the words that I just think, again, are fundamental. So commitment, adherence, same thing. Confidence, arousal, emotions, cognitions, your thoughts, beliefs, bias, learning. So learning is the psychological term, and behaviour. So these are just some examples of really good ones. Now, to understand what I do, the applied point of psychology, research talks about these scientific terms like confidence. Research talks about scientific terms like arousal. And the science basically is like a clear-cut study of 6 weeks. We did this and we increased somebody's ability to be confident. Right? It's very clear-cut, very defined. It's kind of like a brick. Right? But in reality, in the applied world, it's much more like a stone wall. Okay? You have to go with what is happening because you can't control for things. So this is a great diagram. I drew it myself. But essentially, you've got your beginning action, right? This could be you setting up a training plan, or this could be you setting up a training plan that's poor, and this could be you setting up a training plan that is really, really good, right? And then we have the effects of it. And we find out that the effects are both good and bad. The green is good, the red is bad. And what we can see is that there are examples where one good action might cause a negative action. So a good action might be me helping somebody by writing a training plan for them. The bad action might be me not writing a training plan for them and them learning how to program their own training. So the consequences of what you do, although it might be a good action initially, it might cause dependency on you as a coach. Does that make sense? And then there might be, again, further effects of that dependency. Might be they become less engaged. Whereas you saying, actually, no, tell you what, you want me to write a training program? You write it yourself, then come and show it to me. They then learn the skills. You understand what they want. You understand how they think. Then you can work together, and there's a positive effect. So the negative action of, no, do that yourself, and then maybe a bit put off by that, might have then a positive consequence. And then that might have then another positive consequence that further down the line, they're more likely. So you should think of everything as both positive and negative. The idea that we should always be happy or things should be positive, complete rubbish. Things are only useful and things have effects. That's it. That's what it is. This coffee is useful. Let's have an effect, but at a certain point, part of it's going to be bad because I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to get a bit shaky. Okay, so it's both good and bad. There is no one action that is perfect. So these three questions, you don't need these for powerlifting. You need these for life, right? Compared to what? What's the cost, and where's the evidence? So if we say, for example, you need psychology, you need more confidence. Well, what's the cost of you getting that more confidence? Well, are you going to pay me? Is that going to make you more confident? Or is the cost of the confidence mean that you're devoting time into psychology that could be better spent just getting your squat up? Does that make sense? Because you're going to be more confident if you increase your squat. Confidence is a thought or feeling, but increasing your squat is a fact. Does that make sense? So what's the cost of psychology? But again, this is what's the cost of anything that you do. Compared to what? Anytime you do something, there's a trade-off. You can do one action and there'll be a chance that the other action might be good. So you could spend time setting goals, for example, spend a weekend setting all your goals, but actually you might be better off if you actually took that weekend off and just relaxed, and that would have helped your training more so than doing goals by yourself because you didn't understand the process. Does that make sense? In the real world, there's the consequences. And then the other one is the real kicker is where's the evidence? So when you start asking people why, then you get into issue. So like I said earlier, I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. So it's always important to ask difficult questions. There are over 180 biases. You don't need to see this. I'm going to summarize it now for you in a minute. But there's 180 biases within the human body. So we have short circuits of see this, do that, so we don't have to think. Automatic pilot, essentially. The ones that stand out are confirmation bias. So if I believe something, if I believe that people from County Down are brilliant, I'll look to find things to affirm that, right? But if I think that people from Cork are terrible, I'll look to find things that make me go, I don't like people from Cork, right? So what you believe determines what you look at for evidence and how you view things. So you're biased yourself. Everyone has these biases built in. Another one that's really important to understand is in-group bias. So you basically, the group that you belong to, or the people you identify with, is more likely to, you're more likely to agree with somebody from that, even if they're doing wrong. And if we think about, like, go back to the World War and Hitler and all that sort of stuff, you know, if everyone's doing it and you identify with them, you'll follow the group, and that's what happens. So these are to summarize this diagram, basically you're primed to notice things that change, things that are bizarre, and things that are repeated. Flashing lights in police cars. Why do you think they flash? Because they change. It allows you to see them and go, oh, something's happening there. But if it's just a blue light, you'd be like, I've seen a blue light before. It wouldn't register. But the fact that it's changing causes you to pay attention. Bizarreness, things that are out of the ordinary. So if I see a field of cows for the first time, I'll be like, holy shit, cows, look at them. They've got horns, they're black, they're white, 4 legs, tail, wow. If I grew up on a farm, I don't cows, right? It's normal. But if I see a purple cow, I'm like, okay, something's different, something stands out. So when something's bizarre and stands out, and again, you'll notice whenever I'm actually trying to deliver the psychology, I'm putting you into positions that are bizarre and make you stand out. For those of you who are wondering, has anyone seen the Instagram video I did about saying I was super excited? I was also super hungover that day. But the thing I'm going to do later is going to be a bit bizarre, but hopefully it'll get a message across because it's going to stand out to you. Repetition. Whenever we repeat things, we remember them. So Coca-Cola advertising, that's how it all works. Make America Great Again. That worked out all right. Well, the repetition of that worked out all right. So when you repeat things. So the other thing you do is you look for patterns. And again, if you think of your metaphors, you'll understand the world by the patterns that you already know exist, and you apply that to that. You make general assumptions, and you obviously base things on what your current mindset is. And so if you go into something in a bad mood, you might associate, if you came in here today with a bad mood or a good mood, you might associate how you feel with what I'm actually delivering. Your memory, and down in the bottom left, your memory's terrible. Your memory isn't accurate, and we can actually implant false memories into you just by suggesting things. And every time you remember something, it destroys it. And you know this because when you talk to your friends, you essentially hear them saying, do you remember when you did that thing? I'm like, oh, I did not do that. And they have a different version of events from you. And 10 years later, what you'll find is that your friends have gone off on this big mad tangent where you've done this, and actually, you know, it wasn't that big a deal. So some people take a story and they keep remembering, retelling it, and it becomes bigger every time we tell it. Not enough time. So again, the confirmation bias, we assume we're right, we assume we can achieve things. The closest thing is the best, and finish what started. So invested sunk cost fallacy is a great one. So you're too afraid to change because you've invested time in something, you're like, oh, I've spent all this time working the squat, I'm going to keep going this program, as opposed to going, time to change this, it's not getting the results I want. But because you've stuck with the program, you think you must complete it, when actually sometimes that might be the wrong thing to do. Does that make sense? So those are the biases. Whenever I think about psychology, the way I look at it is I have to have a multi-theoretical approach for action. So it's kind of like looking through things with different lenses. So as a psychologist, I'm looking at it from, I want 3 theories that justify what I'm saying, not just one. Right? Same way when you're thinking about training, you're going to think about different ways of getting strong, not just one way of getting strong. And what I'm going to do is just show you slideshow. This is how you catch a gain. This is how, so when we look at our program with British weightlifting, these are the 4 ways of enhancing somebody's strength. Right? Capacity. So top left, the hypertrophy and muscular volume is important. Right? How does psychology affect that? I want to keep coming back to this when we get into the practical stuff. So somebody's ability to develop hypertrophy and muscular volume enhances their ability to exert force, or their capacity to produce force. That's one lens. Another way for developing strength is intramuscular coordination. This is why people get stronger with dumbbells very fast. You give somebody dumbbells, they learn to coordinate themselves a lot better. Right? The coordination gains enhance strength. It's not that dumbbells make you really strong really fast, it's that you're crap at moving independently. Does that make sense? So intramuscular coordination, so novel stimuli. Bottom left, voluntary contraction potential. So what that is how well you can arrive to training, and if I arrive to training, I'm stiff, I'm sore, I'm fatigued, I haven't had enough nutrition or energy to fuel the session, I'm going to have reduced capacity to voluntarily contract my muscles. Does that make sense? So I want to try and increase the voluntary contraction of the muscles. And then bottom left is system force. How does my entire technique or system work together in a coordinated way to produce force? Those are 4 lenses that an S&C coach or powerlifting coach or powerlifter should look through in gaining strength. This is with psychology, it's the exact same in that I want to look through different lenses, okay? So, we've got motivation, capacity, and task. So from the current slide. Right, so change is affected by confidence is one theory. Change is affected by confidence and ability to change. Motivation to do anything is affected by autonomy, competency and relatedness, self-determination theory. Cluster stressors inhibit the ability to cope with new stresses such as change. All right? So if I overlap those 3 theories and there's a common thread here among control and motivation between those 3 theories, that I know then there's going to be something really good there that can improve from a psychology perspective. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump straight into a task and confidence. So I need you all to get a Post-it. I want you to think, this is the exciting bit, right? This is where I'm going to ask you to go with it. It's going to get a wee bit weird. Hopefully nobody get injured or psychologically damaged. But I want you all to take a Post-it and I want you to write on it a compliment for yourself, right, that somebody would give you or somebody has given you. It can be anything. But I want it to be 9 out of 10 in terms of cringe. Okay, so when you're writing down this compliment, it's more cringe than cry. I don't want you to write something down that makes you sad and want to cry. So protect yourself. It's nothing. I don't want you like having an emotional breakdown of this. I just want you to be highly embarrassed, low in confidence about sharing this. Okay, 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. And like, I wouldn't say this in front of the group. Has everyone got one down?
There we go.
Something first, the big thing is that you have to be a 9 out of 10 in terms of, this is cringy, I definitely wouldn't say this in front of the group, okay? You have to be very low confidence. You might say it, you might be 10 out of 10, you could say it to yourself in front of a mirror, right? Or sorry, 1 out of 10, you'd be so confident you could say it in front of a mirror to yourself and nobody else in the 3-mile radius, right? So I want it to be, you're not confident about saying this in this room, but I don't want it to be anything like super, super damaging or emotional or anything else, okay? Has everyone got one? When here's a good way to think about it. What has somebody said to you? I've thought, yeah, it stuck with me. Who else needs to post it? Right, what has somebody said to me that was like, oh, that made me feel good, I was proud that day, but I couldn't repeat that. Sounds a wee bit too big-headed. Don't be showing them to other people either. Keep them private, because a 9 out of 10, a bit personal. Gar, somebody's bound to have said something nice about you. That's you're somebody who thinks somebody said something nice about me at one point. Jesus, mate. Yeah.
Do you have to believe it though?
The purpose of this task is just that you're uncomfortable and low in confidence of sharing this. Okay? So. No, didn't say that. I just want the feeling. I'm playing with your feelings here. I want the feeling of I am low in confidence about sharing this. This is 9 out of 10 in cringe. I am 1 out of 10 in terms of my confidence and ability to say this to the group.
So it can be something that someone said to you you felt
it could be something that is said to you. It could be something that you think about yourself, something that you're super proud of yourself that you've done. It could be a big, big secret that you like go out and hug trees and are very nice to the trees. Everyone ready? For those of you who are ready, get your post-it in your pocket, get up, let's make some space. Actually, if we go up the back of the room, I think, and just move the chairs out a bit.
It's going to be like that. See it in Mr. Bean, not Mr. Bean, though. Bruce Almighty, not
Okay, so you can push that chair out the back there. Right, oh, watch the keys. Right, okay, well, the ears. Right, so, Donald, I think you go first, okay, so take the center. No, right, okay, so what's the issue with speaking, public speaking? Is this lacking confidence? So this is going to directly, what we're going to do now is going to break this down. You're going to understand confidence through experiencing it. This is the big idea I had, and it came out of actually going and doing an improv comedy workshop, right? Because as you know, being up on stage and talking in front of people is a bit nerve-wracking, and especially talking about yourself, especially if you're Irish and talking about yourself, because the first thing that happens, as soon as you get your head just slightly above, everyone's like, who's he? Who does he think he is? Where's he from? Or she? We all know that happens, right? So we need to make ourselves comfortable. The best way, look how uncomfortable are you? Right, everything's like hands in pockets, keep myself safe. Right, so let's first of all, let's warm up, right? So I just want you to just swing yourself around like this, okay? A bit silly. Down and touch the ground. Swing your arms around like this, yeah. A big figure of 8. Okay. Now, if we're going to be confident, we need to appear confident, right? We need to have, if we're going to speak, we need to have our lungs warmed up. So I want you to start going like a gorilla. So, right, lighter, 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 lower, lower. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, I want you to take a big deep breath, warm up these lungs. So. And out together. Put your hands above your head and do it. Okay, I want you to lean over the side and go. Keep it going. Big thumps, big stretches. And again, all the way. Okay, good. Now, one of the issues with speaking is that our tongues get in the road. So we need to do a tongue warm-up. So I want you to take your tongue and run it around your mouth like this. I'm going to go 6 times in one direction. Off you go. You'll find it cramps up a bit after a while, but this is you developing tongue strength, which is useful for speaking. Your one RM tongue movement, okay? So, then go the other direction 6 times. Your jaw is cramping up already, is it? Right? Okay, other direction 6 times. Okay. Move into a different space in the circle. Go, move into a different space. Okay. Cool. Now, what we need to do is we need to loosen up a bit. We need to be a bit more playful. Okay, so we're going to play a little game. It's called Whiz Bang. Right? Very simple. It's kind of like a drinking game. Has anyone played Fuzzy Duck? Yeah. Right, a bit like that. Okay, but without the drink and without the ducks or the fuzz. But we're going to start off with Whiz. So we'll just try and pass this round. You ready?
I've never played.
Oh, so don't worry.
Okay,
you grab it.
Okay.
All right, you ready? Whiz. Pass it on.
Whiz. 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 Whiz.
Now this time with excitement.
Whiz. 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 Whiz.
Yes! Yes! Love it. Okay, right. Now, here we go. Going to throw something in. Going to throw in bang. Right? So, throw me a whiz.
Whiz.
Bang.
Okay.
Right? Right? It goes that way. Right? So, quick.
Whiz.
Bang.
Always goes back again.
Yeah.
Alright, okay. Whiz.
Whiz.
Bang.
Fuck.
Whiz. Whiz.
Whiz.
Whiz. Whiz. Bang.
Whiz.
Whiz.
Bang.
Whiz.
Bang.
Whiz.
Whiz.
Stop. Okay, so these people are left out over there. Right? So what we're going to do, right? I'm going to throw. If you want to, right? You can just sort of go bounce, bounce, right? So if I bounce it to you, then you decide where it goes to. You ready? Right. So if you want to throw out a bounce, if you feel it's getting stuck at the wrong side too much, okay? You ready? So you'll start. Bounce.
Whiz. 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 Bang. Whiz. Whiz. Bounce.
Bounce.
Bounce. Whiz. Whiz. Bang. Bounce. Whiz. Bang.
Whiz.
Whiz.
Bounce.
Bounce.
Whiz.
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 Bounce.
Whiz. Bang. Bounce.
Bounce.
Whiz.
Whiz.
Whiz. Bang. Whiz.
Whiz.
Whiz. Whiz. Bounce. Whiz.
Whiz.
Okay, we get the idea. What's the level of the mood in the group now? Would you say it's a bit more? People are a bit more relaxed. People are a bit more confident. You're living in fear. Okay, right. So we're going to do some expressive swearing now, right?
Fuck yeah.
Oh yes, I love it. Right. So you're going to pick. We'll say there's a line, right? And I'm not going to tell you what the line is. That's your line. Try not to cross it. Okay. Right? Okay. What I want you to do, I want you to pick an emotion. We'll start with actually, I'll give you an emotion, a feeling. I want you with real anger and rage. Just pick a swear word. Could be your favorite one. Could be your second favorite one. I hope you've got them all ranked. And I want you to say it with pure rage, just totally expressive. Throw your whole body in it on the count of 3. Okay? You ready?
What if you're not a very good person at conflict?
I don't think that's true about you. Right, okay, so pure rage, pick a swear word. On a count of 3, we're all just going to go for it, okay? 1, 2, 3. Right, good, okay, brilliant. Now, here's what we're going to do next, right? This time we're going to use sadness. A wee bit of sadness. So you're going to have to leave where you're at now because you're going to have to use your acting skills. Go into a bit of sadness, okay?
Can you use the same swear word?
You can if you want, yeah. After what I've seen, I'm not messing with you, okay? Right, you ready? So, bit of sadness this time. 3, 2, 1. Right, okay. Curiosity now, right? Curiosity. So what's curiosity? Right? Okay? Right, let's change your position in the circle, change your position in the circle. Listen up on the way there, listen up, listen up. Okay. So, bit of curiosity now, okay? You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Right. Okay, so that was very good. Now what we're going to do, we're going to grab a partner and we're going to play a little game called Yes and, right? Yes and is a philosophy of improv comedy. And funny enough, it's also the philosophy of working as a psychologist. Because no matter what you say, I'll be like, yeah, that's great, and I'll add to it. I'm never going to go and say, actually, no, that's a load of shit. You want to really, it's all about acceptance, okay? So I need somebody to model this with. Will you volunteer? Good. Oh, brilliant. Okay, 2. Right, okay, that's... Right, no, what we'll do, we'll try this with 3, right? So I'm going to say something, you're going to go yes, and then you're going to add to it, okay? And then you're going to say yes to that, and then you're going to add to it, okay? Right, you ready? So, I really think we should spend our lives trying to find unicorns so we can lick them.
Yes, and I think the first place we should look is on the side of the motorway.
Brilliant.
Yes, and if we don't find any, we can dress up as Power Rangers and have a fight.
Yes, and I love Power Rangers because the lycra is sexy.
Yes, and that's why I got into powerlifting.
Okay, right. Grab a partner. You've got 3 minutes. Okay. Please do yourself a favor. Grab somebody you're not familiar with in the group. Okay. So if you're somebody you don't know, go and grab them. Okay, because they're the same level of awkwardness for you. Right. So everybody grab a partner. Anyone's left over goes with me. Okay. 3 seconds to grab a partner. Anyone left over? Do we have an odd number at all? Yeah? Okay, right. Yes, and. Somebody start. I'll give you something to start with, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so, yes, and you're going to go for 3 minutes. They speak, you speak, they speak, you speak. Remember, everything's yes, and you just keep adding to it. Okay? Off you go. Go. Whatever you want, pick something. No, just go ahead. Powerlifting is great. Yes, and
Probably just got into to get stronger for my sport. Anything. Yes, and the means that are part of it are various. Yes, and we'll probably go to friends. Yes, and these conversations. Yes, and I can change the subject. Yes, and indeed, it's something that is others, so that's okay. Yes,
okay, guys, so, all right. Okay, so this time, we're going to do, I really want to liven things up here, okay? I want you to make it a wee bit left of crazy this time, a wee bit more fun and explorative. Anything is possible. It doesn't have to be about powerlifting, right? Okay, so anything's possible. I want you to find a new partner. So very quickly, find a new partner. Off you go. Grab a new partner. Right, okay, so, right, now, just to make you all, some of you are still very, very uncomfortable, okay? So the best way to not be uncomfortable is to have a whiz. Yeah, right. The best way to not be uncomfortable is to be confident. And if you want to be confident, it's kind of like setting up for your deadlift. Okay, you're like, all right. Okay, so plant yourself in the ground. Your hands are here. You're ready to go down. So I want you to face each other. Okay, first of all, come into the space a bit. Come out of the corners. Use the full space. Use the full space. Right. You're both going to set up for a deadlift. You're both going to set up for a deadlift. And the topic is a fantastic story, but it's not about either of you. Okay? So, and I'm going to give you, this beginning is, one day the hero of the story went off and then from there, yes and. But let's start with a deadlift setup first of all. So everyone get in there, set up, plant your feet can't move. Your hands must be ready for going to the bar, okay? So they're going to be somewhere, okay? Now, you ready? Yes and, right? We're going to decide who goes first with rock, paper, scissors. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, tallest person goes if you haven't got it yet. Right? Right, so I'm going to start you off. It's not about you. I'm going to start it off. Yes and. One day the hero of the story went to go.
Filled up.
Okay, guys. That one went a bit better, yeah? Yeah? Cool, okay. So here's what I want you to do now. It's the feeling in the group's changed. You're a bit more relaxed, a bit more ready, a bit more confident, maybe. The next thing we're going to do is I want you to take out your Post-it. Okay? Take out the Post-it that you wrote the thing on. Okay? Now, I want you to form a circle, again, shoulder to shoulder. Okay? Just take a look at your Post-it quickly, right? Right? Okay, so what I want you to do, come in, make sure we're all in tight in the circle, right? So what I want you to do is I want you all to close your eyes, right? I want you all to close your eyes, look down at the ground, right? And just, yeah, because I don't like looking at you. So, I want you to think about what's written on your Post-it, and I want you to just imagine yourself saying it at the top of your voice, just screaming it out, right? Okay. Right, now, I want you to go one step further, and I want you to still look down the ground, still your eyes closed, right? I want you to, well, actually, I want you to look up now. I want you to look all the way up at the ceiling. Eyes closed though, right? Eyes, look up as high as you can, and I want you to just to say it, but not out loud. So I want to see your lips moving. I want to see your lips moving, saying it, but I don't want to hear any noise, okay? So 3, 2, 1. Right? Now, I want you to say it again, and I want you to say it as loud as you can. I'm sorry, as if you're saying it as loud as you can, but I want no noise as well. Okay? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, now, this time I want you to think of 3 words. They don't have to be in any order from your sentence, right? They can be in any order you want, and you're going to say those 3 words, right? Everyone's going to say them at once. You can choose, it could be all the, and but, if you want, that's fine, okay? Go easy. I want you to pick, in fact, we'll do that. I want you to pick the words that are easiest for you to say of this sentence. So just 3 of them. It can be in any order from any part of the sentence. So everyone pick 3 words.
I only wrote 1 word, but can I make up 1 word? I didn't know it was a sentence.
That's okay, you can use a sentence, yeah. So put it in this sentence, okay? Right? So, I want you to take that sentence. I want you to take 3 of the words, the 3 easiest words for you to say, right? And whenever I clap my hands, we're all going to shout 1 word out as loud as we can, right? But to make it less awkward, can we all close our eyes? Okay? Right, so everyone close your eyes. When I clap my hands, you shout out 1 word. When I clap my hands the next time, you shout out the next one. And when I clap my hands the next time, we shout out the next one, okay? So I'm going to give you 3, 2, 1s into it. So I'm expecting a few the, but, if coming out of you, so don't worry about it. So 3, 2, 1. Right, 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Right, okay. Now.
I can't wait to hear Carrie's.
Right, so, okay. I want you to pick 3 different words, or the 3 more challenging words of your sentence, okay? And I want you to just up the level of uncomfortableness of you saying whatever it is. So you've picked the easy bits. I want you to maybe pick a wee bit slightly higher, okay? So, same thing. Get it picked. It can be in any order you want. Close your eyes.
Sorry, what do you do if you've only 4 words, 3 words?
You can just repeat it again, but with real conviction. Right, okay. 3, 2, 1. Light. 3, 2, 1. Light. 3, 2, 1. Light. Right, okay. I'm not going to ask you to say out the things, but what I want to know is, like, in terms of confidence level, right? Are you still at a 9 of saying this in the group?
Nope. No. Kind of.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Right, so put your hand up if you're at a 9 in terms of, this is too cringy, I don't want to say this. Yeah, okay. Put your hands up if you've gone down to an 8. Put your hands up if you've gone down to a 7. Put your hands up if you've gone down to a 6. 5, going at a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Anybody who was at a 9, is it still the same level of 9, or is it just slightly lower? It's still just as solid. It hasn't nudged down a little bit. Okay, cool, that's fine. Okay. Is there anyone else who you are still at a 9?
A little bit, yeah.
It's gone a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it dropped a little bit, yeah.
Right. How do you feel about the people in the room? And I'm not going to ask you to say it, but do you feel as if the people in the room are now more accepting of what you have to say?
No, I didn't even want to write on a paper in the first place, because just to think about it makes me feel comfortable.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Cool. So, guys, let's go back and sit down. Thank you very much for participating fully in that. Okay. I went to an improv comedy show when I was in Amsterdam once, and saw these guys called Boom Chicago, and it was really, really good. It was actually that good. I went twice. So I was there in holiday. I went to the show twice, and it's different each time. So like I've always been interested in it, and I know like this ability to just wing it is class, because like if you can wing it, you could be a great politician. But like the thing is, if you can wing things and think creatively on your feet, that's a real bonus. And so to me with psychology, is like I'm always in the back foot, because somebody will say something to me. I don't know what somebody's going to say, and I have to deal with it. It's not as if I come in and go, today we're doing goal setting. I'm like, no, the goal setting is not going to work for me. I have to adapt, you know, to what's in front of me. So I thought there was a lot of overplays in that. But I think the other thing is like, it's just fun as well. You know, I just wanted to do it as fun. There's a couple of things. There's 2 things I've done that have been really beneficial to me in terms of from a coaching perspective and from an athlete perspective. Well, from a coaching perspective, I would say motivational interviewing and the improv comedy workshop were like, give me proper skills, real good. From a coaching from an athlete perspective, improv comedy is probably interesting because it was all about how you portray your confidence on stage. So one of the things that I was told by this actor was like, you're pacing about, Hugh, right? I don't know, if you see me at EPC, I was like, I went for a walk up and down, I was walking over here, I was like, yeah, walking over here, and like that was me being nervous, but actually she was like, just plant your feet, you're here, you're in the room, you're in your space, and I'm not appearing nervous because I'm planted. Inside I might be still nervous, you know, but I don't put it out there, for I'm more controlled. But the other thing is that all that pacing, I'm kind of like, that was also me psyching myself up for it, if you know what I mean. Anyway.
Do you find that the stereotype is true that Irish people are a little bit more withdrawn and don't like to talk in front of people and stuff like that than if you're working with some British people?
I think there's definitely an element of culturally it's less accepting, and I think if you look at Americans, like they're completely different. You know, they'll, oh, I did this and I did that, and you know, they're much more like happy to talk about themselves. Whereas like, I'll judge people if somebody starts talking. Like I hate the whole "this is me, I did this" stuff at the start. You probably picked up on that. Like, this is what I do, I'm this, and it's kind of it's awkward because like, okay, I've done stuff, but like, so what? It's like, it's just cringy. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh, sure, I must be some sort of knowledgeable person with something to share, so I need to have that evidence of that. I don't know, but yeah, I think Americans are more like that. I think it's culturally dependent. We're all back, we're all in our seats. Guys, I've been waiting to do that to you. I've been waiting, that's been like the thing that I've just been, I haven't tried that with anyone else. I'm actually going to be trying this with the lifters as a way to sort of like get them to understand confidence better. So I'm really glad you just like fully bought into it there for me. What we did, we looked at confidence, and we're like, we gave you something that you're unconfident at, and then we made you acclimatize to it. So here's what from a psychology perspective, let's relate this to powerlifting. So we've got your feelings, your thoughts, your acts, right? How will your time frame affect your performance, right? What might go wrong and distract you in your time frame, and what will be the feeling, action, or thought that caused it? So here's a time frame just for you to think about, right? You're not confident about going to a competition, or you're not confident about going to a PB attempt, right? 3 months out, your feelings, actions, and thoughts are going to affect you. How would they affect you 3 months out in terms of your confidence levels? What might you change in that? What are your thoughts there? So I'll rephrase that so it's clear. You're 3 months out from an event, competition, or a PB attempt that you're going to go for in the gym. You've got feelings, actions, and thoughts around that. How might they be affected in terms of confidence? Your confidence levels are going to be affected by your feelings, your actions, and your thoughts. So how would your feelings, actions, and thoughts affect your confidence levels to the task that you're wanting confidence for?
Longer out you are, the less imminent to this, so you're going to be a bit more confident.
Okay.
You could be like, okay, that actually was loads of time.
Tell you what, I've actually done a really bad thing. Because I'm sitting telling you this, and you're going, oh, is it me he wants to speak? Can you just do a quick, grab a person beside you, come up with 3 things, okay? Quick fire chat, you've got 1 minute, 3 things. 3 months out, go. Confidence. Okay. Go and finish your sentence. Right. Okay. So, what have we got? What did you discuss here?
I wasn't sure if I fully understood it.
Mm-hmm.
But so if you were confident or weren't confident about the competition, you'd go in. If you were confident, you'd hold yourself better going in. You might have a problem holding yourself or conducting yourself or taking a space or a weight that if you knew you were going to do it, that you'd go and take that space.
Mm-hmm. As
in like that improv thing, if you're not confident about it, you're not going to just go out and say what you think. If you're confident, you're just going to do it. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah, that's fine, yeah. So what you're saying is that if you're more confident and you're 3 months out, you're more likely to go into a space where you challenge yourself and keep developing. Whereas if you're less confident, there might be some withdrawal issues there. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Anything else here?
I felt it would work 2 ways. When you're 3 months out, you feel you got that time and all, and so you might be more confident, whereas you might start panicking.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the opposite way, like if you're already 3 months out, you might feel you've done all the work.
Mm-hmm.
So you might feel in a good place and you're more confident in that close to competition because you've done the work, like, and all, you know you're in a position, like, and all.
Mm-hmm.
You've done everything you can, so it can work 1 or 2 ways for like really.
Yeah, cool, okay. So I'm going to, just to put this in the frame, imagine that thing that was 9 out of 10 unconfidence for, right? If I had 3 months to prepare, right, how would I build up my confidence?
So you have no confidence and you have to build it.
Yeah. Any thoughts of that? Any discussions from that? Gar up the back there, what did you guys?
What we were saying here is that if you watch like previous ones, it says before could get you more confidence for the upcoming thoughts in 3 months, so then you have like positive thoughts, which might lead to more positive action for the next one.
Yeah, okay, cool. You want to say something, do you?
Okay. I agree with that. Powerlifting competition. Having like more perspective on like what your current objective is, and using for building confidence. Because a lot of people, if you're that far away from the competition, you're not ready for the objective. You're not mentally
Yeah.
Realising that and realising that all you have to do is the next session and have good confidence. Like rather than looking 3 months down the line, just looking at
tomorrow?
Yeah, your next day in the gym.
Okay, cool. What did you discuss?
I was going to say like 3 months out, that's when I'd worry the most.
Right, okay.
Because I'd be thinking, right, I'm not doing the main complex, am I still getting better, am I still doing everything to give me the chance to get better on the day? Whereas like the closer you get, the less you can actually do.
Yeah, because it's just, it's all been done now, yeah? Cool, okay. So I just want to look at this. This is essentially Bandura's self-efficacy model. Your performance accomplishments, which is the things you've done. Your vicarious experiences, which is things that are related to what you've done, or people who have done it and you're like those people. So people from your gym who've done this, you're more likely to go off and follow in their footsteps. Verbal persuasion, so if somebody encourages you and pushes you, you know, to the point where they say, look, this is a good thing to do, you have these abilities, you have these skills, not tells you what to do, but tells you why you could do it, that increases somebody's confidence. And then your emotional arousal affects your confidence. So in research terms, we call this self-efficacy, or your belief that you're effective at what you want to do. So these 4 things increase your ability to build confidence. What you mentioned about focusing on the next day is genius. That is what psychology is about. Is actually not the competition, not the 3 months, but what is the smallest little thing that I can do? What is the snowflake I can drop that will cause the avalanche? And if it doesn't cause the avalanche, it'll sit there so I can pile up enough actions that cause the performance avalanche. Does that make sense? So if you look at what we did there now, we broke the performance task down. It was all about you speaking and your ability, your confidence and ability to speak. We broke it right down into move the tongue around your mouth, right? You know, use your lungs, change your body language. We broke the task right down, and then we built it up to the point where you're picking out big words that were a bit more emotive from the statement, right? So we broke it down and made it achievable. We created a safe space to play, explore, feel. Which, if you think about it, you're not going to go and take somebody in a competition setting and put them into the top level competition. You've got development competitions, you've got in-house club competitions, you've got PB days, things like that. You grade it in. So what you want to think of confidence is like an axe. Everybody wants to get to the thick end, but you need to be sharp. You need to slice off exactly what is the smallest thing that you can do to build confidence. That is what it is all about. So your judgment of, do I want to increase my confidence? What's your name? Deirdre. You could get my job because you're like, just do tomorrow. That'll do. That's it. So you break it down into the smallest thing that you can slice off, right? Now we normalized it as well. All the feelings you have about, don't want to say this in front of the room. Everyone had those feelings. Oh, everyone feels like this. Everyone thinks this is a bit weird. Everyone's a bit uncomfortable, like Hugh's saying, do this thing and do that thing, and it was uncomfortable for everyone, and because it was uncomfortable for everyone, it was normal for everyone. So if we normalize the experience, then it becomes something that we're more likely to achieve because we're not going to have this high reaction or arousal to it. Does that make sense? We regulated our arousal levels. So I got your breathing. That's a technique for regulating your arousal levels. Now, if I was to walk out of here now, do you feel as if you understand confidence in powerlifting? Or do we need to relate this more? Because I want to wrap up powerlifting and take lunch. So if I was to say to you, you now understand how to build confidence in powerlifting, do you feel as if you have a framework to do that? Any questions about that? Yeah, go throw out your questions. Tell you what, actually, just have a quick discussion, 30 seconds. What do you need clarification on? What questions do you have about building confidence within a powerlifting setting? Go, quick discussion. Okay guys, 10 seconds. Yeah. So, what have you got? Questions? Clarity needed?
Are routine and consistency two of the most important things to athletes?
Okay, so preparation is, the way I like to look at it is, how confident are you you can walk from here out the door? Very? Right. I'm gonna bet £4 million one way or the other. Which bet are you taking?
That I can or cannot?
Yeah.
I suppose I'll go can.
Can, okay, so you're going to take that bet. Why?
Because I've been doing it since I was young.
Yeah, so, but how good were you when you were 1? Not good, right. So confidence is built on, the strongest source of confidence is past experience, right? But nobody remembers when they were 1, all that falling over and failing. And that's why we're all confident at walking. Does that make sense? So essentially, what your job is to build confidence is to expose people to the ability that they have and try and push that a bit to develop it. So you build the capacity and that builds the confidence. Does that make sense?
How do you do that?
So how do you do that? Can you give me an example of when somebody wouldn't have confidence within powerlifting?
They don't have confidence enough to go for a competition.
Okay, so they don't have confidence enough to go for a competition. What is the lowest point that we've got this axe, so this is the competition, and down here is the smallest, thinnest bit. They're currently just training. What is the closest next thing we can do to simulate a competition?
Have them do maxes in the gym.
Have them do maxes in the gym. Okay, what's the next thing up from that? Well, not maybe even just a PB day with the rest of the gym. So everyone turns up and goes for a PB, they've got people watching them. And then in-house competition. Yeah? What are you thinking?
I'm just saying this because we have this in the gym, like people avoid sometimes PB days.
Yeah?
So.
Okay. So what's one step down from a PB day? Let's cut it down a bit finer. What's the smallest bit they can do before a PB?
Percentage maybe?
Yeah, the double percentage, yeah. So again, it's about you choosing the right task that's within their comfort zone. And even better than that, you're shit hot if you get them to choose a task that's within their comfort zone. Okay, so you don't like PB days, you don't want to do a competition, you don't want to do this. Where are you now? Where do you want to get to? What's the smallest thing that's slightly closer? And that's how you're going to build the confidence. So you're looking for, it might be wearing a singlet. A classic one with a coach came to me and says, like, this older woman was over the moon that she was wearing a singlet in front of people in the gym on a Wednesday. She's like, you know, I never thought I would ever wear a singlet in front of anybody, let alone like be actually happy doing it in the gym, you know, at 45, 50, whatever age she was. And it's like, that's the small thing. Just put on the singlet. Do you know what I mean? Or even if you think about it, competition, you've got set weights. So when we're warming up or we're doing a training session, maybe they adjust the weights. But actually this idea of make your call, that's the weight you have to stick with and you have to go for today. So you're exposing them to that risk of good judgment and maybe potentially failing, you know. So just the smallest of elements to make it slightly more like a competition will benefit. You happier?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. Any other confusions or questions about confidence?
So say if it's on like a ladder of 0 to 10 and you're trying to pick the right number before you go to the higher number, do you stay on that? Say if that was a 6 wearing a singlet, it was a 10 wearing it in front of 2,000 people in the IPF Nationals.
Yeah.
But it was only a 5 if you're doing it in the gym. There's 30 people there, so you did that. Yeah, and that got you the butterflies and all that. Do you stay at that until that 6 gets reduced? Or do you say, alright, that's a 6, what's the next level? Okay, she did that, that's a 7, what's the next one? Like,
you ask them.
Doing a 10.
Yeah. No. Your number one power as a coach is not your opinion, but understanding their opinion. So if they do a 5, and go, that wasn't that bad. I could go for, you know, I could go for 2,000. Do you know what I mean? People looking at me doing it. So it's kind of, you have to ask them first, is first port of call. Ask them what they think the next step is, not what you think, and then you go from there. Okay, and then you set that up. So that's will be how I'd approach it. I have got a in the moment tool later that I'm going to show you after lunch of like, here's how I think about a problem when somebody's got on the back foot in a competition for you to actually manage that. Okay, so I'll show you that later. Any other questions about confidence? Yeah.
Do you think that like motivation levels have what to do with someone's to do with building someone's confidence?
Yes. So I'll park that question after lunch and deal with that then. Okay. Any other questions about confidence or understanding it? You're all very confident? Just had to get that in there, didn't I? Right, okay, cool. Guys, it's 20 past. What about 1 o'clock for lunch? We'll come back at 1, yeah? 40-minute lunch, is that okay? Or do we need an hour? It's your workshop, guys.
I'm all right, 40 minutes.
We go 45 minutes, 5 past 1?